All right, hey everybody. Hope you guys are having a great Saturday, and we are live. So hopefully you guys can see this now, and I'm not talking to myself like I did the night before. Okay, we learned a lot. Okay, but here's what we're going to take a look at today. Is going to take a look at where Bitcoin is right now. Just kind of go over it really quick. We're not going to spend too much time on this one. We're going to then go look at the Bitcoin miners themselves, as far as what is their current joules per terahash based on what I was able to gather on them. So we'll go through all the details there. We'll look at what is their basically profitability right now, based on if they were running for full time. And then we'll look at halving event as well. We'll do some assumptions there, and we'll go over all the details. Okay. But as always, you guys know this is not financial advice for entertainment only. Please do your own research. And I'm invested in following coins and companies as always for full disclosure. And if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out tremendously. And let's get into it here. So we'll try and get through this relatively quickly here. So here's the screen right now on Bitcoin. So Bitcoin was pretty flat on the day for Saturday as it is. It was basically up just 0.1%. So that's a good thing, right? Because we kind of wanted Bitcoin to be kind of flat over the weekend and possibly then get into the week and possibly go back down to like 39,000 mark, which would then fill that CME futures gap that we talked about yesterday. And we'll look at it here today again. But right now we're seeing that the Bitcoin is below the 50-day moving average mark. But if we look at the BTC CME futures, we can see that it actually bounced off the 50-day moving average on that one. Okay, so that's kind of what we're hoping for, that during the weekend, Bitcoin's going to stay kind of flat. And then come Monday, potentially, we may come down, or sometime next week, I'm guessing, we might fill this gap here that we have this was from December 23rd, where we had Bitcoin basically close out at 39,225, and then we started back up on the Monday at 42,288. So that's kind of the gap that we want to fill here. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm hoping for. If it happens, great. If not, we'll see how long it takes to get there. All right, so that's it for Bitcoin. Really just want to talk about that one really quick. Nothing else is happening here. And then let's take a look at the Bitcoin miners efficiency here right now. This is based on the current numbers that we have for them for December. So one of the things I did today, and I spent about 4 to 5 hours going through all of the company's press releases, presentations, what else did I go through? SEC filings as well, to try and find out what is their current cost per electricity. And that's not an easy task. If you guys are following the miners, you know how hard it is sometimes to find this stuff. But I was able to find a lot of the information here. There are some miners that I was not able to find information for. Those include CORZ, Digihost, DMG, Hive, and then also Mawson, I believe, along with maybe Stronghold, I think. If we take a look at the note here, yeah. So those are the ones that I could not find any information. So I have those at 5 cents. They could be higher, they could be lower. If you guys have any information on that, please hit me up in either the comments or the chat well, not the chat, because I'm going to miss the chat right now. But if you guys could put in the comments and with links to, or at least where I could find the information, that would be great. I also reached out to a bunch of these companies here today. So I reached out to CORZ, obviously DMG, Digihost, Hive as well. And then I tweeted trying to find information about your electricity cost per kilowatt hour. Please respond with all of your all-in kilowatt hour cost, including transmission, taxes, etc. Thank you. Nobody really responded to. I was able to get a hold of Sue from Hut 8. She was kind enough to kind of provide me the information there, and we'll kind of go through it, what she provided. So kudos to Hut 8 and Sue. Fantastic investor relations service there. And there's other companies that have also fantastic investor relations services. Some of them that come to mind is Bitfarms, Cleanspark, TerraWolf, Marathon as well, some of the other guys as well. So, but definitely above and beyond for Sue to reply on a Saturday. So thank you to Sue on that one. And we'll get back into here, and we'll go through everything that I could find on all these guys. We'll talk about the different metrics that we're looking at here and the importance of them going into the halving event. Okay, so Argo is mostly hosted through Galaxy Digital. They're about 6.5 cents, right? BitDeer reported on Q3, noted 0.032, so 3.2 cents basically per kilowatt hour. That, however, does not include transmission fees, taxes, etc. Bumped the price up by just 2 cents for those things. So this is a best guess estimate on it. It could be a little bit less than that. It could be a little bit more. But I got BitDeer at 0.52 cents basically per kilowatt hour. Then if we look at Bit Digital, the company paid approximately 6 cents per kilowatt hour to its hosting partners for electricity consumed during the quarter Q3. So we're going by that number there. Bitfarms reported in their, I believe this was their press release, source company analysis estimated direct operating costs. Let's see here. Operating costs calculated on the percent per terahash daily basis with 4.2 cents per kilowatt hour. So that's kind of what we're using for Bitfarms on that one. Cypher reported 0.027 reported plus the 2 cents for transmission. I got them at 4.7 cents for that one. Right, in transmission and other fees in that could be lower, but they don't report, so it's hard. So I'm just basically going with 2 cents. And the reason I'm going with 2 cents is because when I was mining for the 5 years of managing a mining farm, we had basically cost of power was 4.5 cents for us when we were a very small miner. So we were happy to get that. But when you added on everything else on top of it, taxes, transmission fees, all those things, that came up to be like 6.5, 6.6 cents. I don't know if that's going to be the same across the board for all the countries, but that's kind of what I'm going by with because that's kind of what I have experience with. Okay. Then if we get into Cleanspark reported in the latest press investor presentation, reported 4.8 cents. So that's what we're going with there. Core, like I said, I couldn't find it anywhere. I looked through the Q3 results, presentations, everything, and I could find nothing. So we're going with 5 cents for them. Digihost, same thing for 5 cents. DMG, same thing. Hive, same thing. I think Hive should be like in the 4 or someplace like that, but I couldn't find anything, at least in the latest presentations, Q3s, press releases, or anything like that. Hut 8. So Sue actually responded here. Response from Sue here. I am pushing for us to disclose the next financial runs. What we have guided to analysts is as per publicly available information as to where our sites are at to assume 5 cents per kilowatt does not include curtailment credits, etc. Okay, so that's kind of what we're going to go with there. That's from Sue. So again, thank you to Sue for providing that. Iris Energy, as of their, I think this was for their SEC filing. So Childress, this is kind of long here. Let me see here. Childress power price assumption of 2.1 cents per kilowatt hour reflects the average all-in power price achieved between May and October, and this is based on invoices received and internal estimates. This includes basis costs, ERCOT fees, retail and network fees, power sale credits, and benefits estimated to be received from ERCOT. They haven't gotten those in yet, so we'll have to see if they get those in, but basically based on that, I bumped them up to 4.5 cents. I don't know exactly where they're going to be. That's kind of like my best guess estimate. So it's being, I think, maybe a little bit generous for them, but we'll see. Marathon reported from their investor presentation, I believe, that they are at 6.5 cents on average. Mawson, we don't have any information for them. Riot also reported 9 months ended September 30th, non-GAAP, net of 42.3 million of power curtailment credits allocated to Bitcoin, but they stated they have 1.7 cents per kilowatt hour. Now that's with all the credits and everything else. We've also seen credits kind of fluctuate for them. We've seen it in August where they had like 30-some million in credits, whereas the next couple months they've only had a couple million. So it's hard to judge exactly where they are at. So I'm at 4.5 cents on that. Then we got Sphere here. Sphere, couldn't find anything, but most of their machines are hosted. So I'm guessing they're going to be probably maybe close to what Marathon is getting. What is Marathon right now? 6.5, maybe a little bit higher than that. Don't know. We'll see if they provide anything on that one. Stronghold, same thing. I'm at 5 cents. And then we got TeraWolf at 4.5 cents, and this was based on the presentation as well. And this was for Lake Mariner, which is their self-mining facility, at 4.5 cents. They do have the joint venture as well, which they're at like 2 cents something in that one. But that doesn't get reported on the quarterly earnings or anything like that. So we're going with the 4.5 cents per kilowatt hour for their self-mining. Okay, so I hope that kind of makes sense for everybody there. All right, we have a lot of numbers here, so we'll try going through this as fast as we can, and hopefully we don't lose anybody along the way. Okay, now average watts. So this is looking at their December numbers, what they had as far as mining or reported as having mining, the number of machines roughly, and based on the numbers I could find for everybody here. So what we're doing here is looking at their actual mining here, which we have obviously covered for a long time. We know that based on these numbers here, this kind of what they're at, 24.21 joules per terahash. Their average is calculated as well. And then we're using the numbers here for as far as the watts per miner that I could get information for. These are, some of these might be a little bit estimated. Some of these are actuals based on the manufacturer specifications. So it's the best I could come up with, or right now at least, based on everything that we know. Okay, so it's going to be plus or minus a couple percentage points possibly with all these guys here, just for clarification. And then let's see here. Average hash rate is obviously what their average hash rate is for the month of December at that point. And this is 97 terahash basically. It's 97,589, but it's 97 terahash is how I'm doing it. And then average joules per terahash. So we have that across the board here. And then average miner electricity cost based on their cost of electricity. So that's kind of what we have here. So if we go across the board here, we'll really just look at average joules per terahash right now, because I think that's the most important. It kind of sums up everything else, the average watts, the average hash rate, and it sums it all up into one little piece here. So you can see here that Argo right now is at 32.04. We got BitDeer at 32.59, BitDigital at 28.39, Bitfarms at 32.24 currently, Cypher at 27.96, Cleanspark at 26.62, CORZ at 29.03, Digihost at 28.43, DMG at 27.37, Hive at 29.78, HUD 8 is at 33.42, Iris at 29.5, Marathon at 24.21, Mawson at 31.68, Riot at 29.25, Sphere at 29.5, Stronghold at 29.45, and then TeraWolf at 26.79. So based on all of these, Marathon right now is the most efficient fleet out there operating. But the reason for that is they have 23 exahash right now, which is a lot compared to everybody else. They're double what Riot is, Cleanspark, all of those. So that's kind of where they are. They have a lot of the newer machines already being plugged in. So that's definitely helping them out here also, okay? Let's see, after that, I think if we look down here in the charts, here we go. Yeah, the chart over here is the same thing. It just kind of makes it a little bit easier to figure everything out. So Marathon is obviously number one right now, 24.21. And then I think we would have, it looks like Cleanspark in the second spot, 26.62. Followed by TeraWolf at 26.79. And then we got possibly DMG here at 27.37. And after that, we get into like BitDigital here at 28.39 and Digihost 28.43, Core at 29, and then obviously Cypher here at 27. So you can see all those along the way. Okay, now this breakdown over here in this green chart right now, or this green table, is we're looking at the average price, or the where Bitcoin price basically. Right now Bitcoin's at around 41,000, so I just have it at 41,000. Network hash rate is at 505 exahash, and our current block reward is at 900. So we can see here where everybody lines up as far as what they're generating at different price targets for Bitcoin right now. Right, if we go down to 31,000, you can see what everybody's making. If you go to 41,000, you can see what everybody's making. And then if you go to 65,000, you can see what everybody's making as well. And this is based on if they were operating basically 100% of the time. Now, we know that some companies curtail, so you also have to take that into consideration. I'm not including that in here. And I may include that going forward. We may include like the last 3 months or 6 months of uptime averages for these guys. Maybe get a little bit better numbers for those. But this is what I was able to come up with at least today. But we can always add that if you guys want. The other thing in here is we're not including any of the Bitcoin transaction fees that, you know, we saw a huge increase in those in December, where the miners were getting like 20% more in Bitcoin rewards because of the transaction fees. Okay, that's kind of what we're looking at there. Number of miners is down here. Daily is what they could be generating 30 days. So we're looking at 30 days roughly. Some days have 31, some days have 28. Their electrical costs on the 30 days, total revenue for the days, and then profit margin as far as what that entails, just for electricity, right? Does not account for anything else other than electricity in here. Okay, and then we have actual revenue. This is the actual revenue that they had from December numbers. And then what we're looking at the difference here, potentially if they were running for the full 30 days in a month, you can see that they would have obviously an increase here, a difference. So I'll let you guys kind of look at all these numbers here. You can take a screenshot of it if you like. I'll obviously post this to the Patreon members. So if you want to get access to that, link is down in the description for that. And they have access to all of this and you guys can look at it. And I have 3 versions of this: PDF version, Excel version, and Apple numbers version as well, which is what I'm using here. Okay, so I'm not going to go through that because that's going to take too long to go through it all. But what I wanted to point out here is obviously the impact that's going to have on the halving event. So if you look at let's see here, net profit after electrical expenses currently, right? Marathon, obviously top one here at 26 million right now, not including transaction fees in here. And then you got potentially Core being at 19.4 million, followed by Riot at 15. We know Riot curtails quite a bit. They're usually running at like 20 some days. So that would probably be lower than what Cleanspark is. Cleanspark would be probably in the 3rd spot, Riot in 4th spot. And then you have everybody else after that. So you guys can see those numbers here. And then you can see also the current profit margin on the current status quo of things, right? So you can see here that the best profit margin right now is by TeraWolf at 60.4%, followed by Cleanspark at 58%, and then we would have probably who would be here, Cypher 56.8%, along with Riot, right? That's if Riot was running for the full month, plus they get credits on that, so that's also dependent on that, where that could actually increase their numbers there for them. Bitfarms along the way, DMG, Iris as well is up there. So those are the ones that are doing pretty good here as far as profit margins, just based on electrical cost and what they could be mining for the month. What else do we have here? And then this is the potential revenue increase from current price to higher bounds. So the network hash rate stays the same along with the miner's hash rate. And that's looking at if Bitcoin price goes basically to like the 65,000 from the 41,000, I think, or 31,000, what that increase could be for them. Okay. So that's for the current situation that we're in. Now, if we look going forward into the halving event, and we're just going to say here that the only thing that's going to change really is potentially the network hash rate and the block reward. All right. I believe that the network hash rate is going to increase somewhere to around maybe 600 exahash. So we're going to go with that. And block rewards obviously going to get cut in half to 450. And take a look at this table here, how quickly that changes. Just if I do 450 450 Bitcoin per day. And then you can start seeing that we are now seeing more red. So currently everybody is in the green. Come halving event, if Bitcoin price stays where it's at, you're going to see obviously some miners getting into a world of hurt here. Based on 41,000, we can see here that Argo, BitDeer, BitDigital, who else do we have here? Hut 8, and then we got Sphere 3D as well. Right, if we're going across here, we might even have Marathon in here as well, Mawson, and let me make sure I'm looking at the right. There we go. Yeah, Marathon, Mawson, and Sphere would be not profitable at that time. But that's with only 505 exahash, right? And the network hash rate. If we bump that up to 605, it gets pretty interesting at that point. So look at this. Pretty much now everybody is in the green or in the red, with Bitcoin being at 41,000, and that includes pretty much everyone here except for TeraWolf. So TeraWolf is looking actually pretty good right now. The only concern with obviously with TeraWolf is their debt, right? Because if we look at their debt here, and I'll explain this to you guys, we've explained it in other videos here, is they have 40 million that's due by the end or beginning of April, I believe, and then they're going to try paying some more off later on. But once we get into the halving event, their revenue is going to get cut so much it's going to be painful. Let me see here, total profit margin, total electricity, let's see, where is it? 30-day net profit. They're going to generate, it looks like, right, we have the 30-day profit, there we go, daily. 230,000 in basically net or gross revenue from electricity, taking that off of it. 230,000 at that point, right? So they're going to need Bitcoin to be at a much higher price, because at 230,000 per month, that's not going to cover anything else. General administrative expenses, operating overhead expenses. You're basically at a loss at that point as well. So it'll be interesting to see where Bitcoin goes, and I think Bitcoin's going to need to go up for the miners here if that is to happen here. Because look at this way. If we look at down here, net profit for after electrical expenses, you can see everybody is down. You can see Marathon is down 5.3 million at that point, or losing at that point, and that's not including anything else. General administrative, other things. It's pretty wild how things are going to shape up if this is the case. And then you got TeraWolf just slightly making a profit, but again, it's going to be eaten up by everything else, all the other expenses. So it's going to be definitely a world of hurt for a lot of these miners here. And then you can see the profit margin here as well for everybody, how that has obviously gone way down here. So at that point, Argo is at negative 63.9% profit margin. Sphere is at negative 50.9. Let's see, Marathon is at negative 23.9. Hut 8 is at 31.5. And everybody else, BitDeer, BitDigital, same thing. So that is definitely eye-opening here. And let's take a look at if Bitcoin just goes up to, say, 61,000, right? If by that time, within the next 3 months, if we go up to that high, how things would look on the charts here. Oops. There we go. So now you can see a different picture here. So as long as Bitcoin goes up and the network hash rate goes up to 605 exahash, we get a total different picture on everything that's going on here. At that point, we only really have possibly only 2 miners that would be in the reds here still, which would be Argo and Sphere 3D at that time frame. Okay. And then here's how things would stack up as far as net profit after electrical expenses. You can see that Marathon would be in the top here with 5.6 million. Then we got CORZ 5.3, Riot again at 5.1, but we know they're curtailed, so they could be possibly lower than that. You got Cleanspark at 4.4. And then profit margins, obviously, those have changed as well. You can see how those have been impacted. And you got TeraWolf at a much better profit margin than that point. So the 2.42 million is definitely going to be more beneficial to TeraWolf and to everybody else that's, getting a smaller profit. So that's why it's important for the miners to have a really, really low cost of everything. Be as lean as you can going into having an event. Be without debt if possible, because it's going to be a world of hurt. I mean, seriously, it's going to be a world of hurt for some of these miners here. And depending where Bitcoin goes in price after the halving in, before the halving event, it's going to make it even worse, or worse than worse. Okay. So there's that on that one. And we may look into this also. I may add some stuff, data in here as far as once we get Q4 results, what is their all-in cost for operating expenses, general administrative costs, and things like that. Add it in here as well, just to kind of get a better picture of where things might stand at, come halving event. The only other question here is, which we don't know, is how will they grow in their hash rate? Because if they grow in their hash rate, they're going to become a little bit more efficient, so forth, so on. That could also impact things as well. But right now, if everything stayed static with having the same amount of miners, this is the way kind of things would shape up. So I think that is it. I think next we'll get into questions, Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, if you guys could also preface the comments in the chat by stating quite big question in all capital letters. That way I can at least find the stuff that you guys are interested in that we can talk about here at that point. So I'm going to pull up my chat here right now and we'll get into it here. So let me pop it out, make it a little bit larger so I can see the letters. Okay. There we go. And let me increase that size. It's terrible getting old. Your eyesight isn't as good as it used to be. Okay. So let's take a look at it here. Hive still alive? Yeah, Hive still is alive. So that's from Martin. A bit late joining the live stream. What else do I have here? The whole BTC space might be co-opted by Wall Street at some point. I wouldn't expect miners to stagnate for years. I don't know how that's going to work out if that would be the case. The miners have their biggest pain point is obviously come having events. So like I said, they need to be as lean as possible with the lowest expenses as possible, get rid of the debt and everything else. And I think they should be fine. But, we'll have to see. I don't think the Wall Streets are going to take over mining at all at any time soon. If BTC price is not controlled by banksters, these miners will perform like gold and silver stocks going forward. Yeah, I mean, that's if Bitcoin price stays pretty flat for a long time, right? We've seen that with gold, where gold over the last 10, 12 years has been pretty much flat. So that would not be good. Let's see here. Is Cleanspark still your favorite miner and why? Cleanspark is still one of my top favorite miners, along with Bitfarms. And I have been starting to get into IREN energy a little bit, and that's from a question from Ryan Buell. The reason I like Cleanspark is when I started doing the metrics on all these miners, doing my investigation, my due diligence, doing all of this data, gathering information. At that point, that was basically towards the third quarter, fourth quarter of 2021. At that point, I was looking at Marathon, Bitfarms, Hive, Cleanspark. Obviously, just started out that year as well in 2021 mining. And based on what I was seeing as far as their growth, and then basically their value that they had at that time, it seemed like they were undervalued compared to like Marathon and others like Riot as well. And then as I continued to look into them into 2022, that's when I started buying into Cleanspark. Bitfarms, I saw that they were still way undervalued compared to the other ones, but they were also performing really well on some of the metrics that I was doing at that time. And as things continued, the metrics continued to point in that direction. That's why I've been dollar cost averaging into Cleanspark, Bitfarms for the last 2 years. And now I started getting into Iris Energy within the last couple of weeks or couple of months as well, but wasn't able to get a whole lot of Iris Energy yet. I'd like to get more. Okay, so that's kind of the reason why. Which is the best buy on Monday? Can't tell you, right? I give you guys a lot of data here. You guys have to make up your own decision on that as far as which one is the best buy. You know which ones do pretty well on the metrics, the things that I look for. I look for efficiencies, uptime, good balance sheet. That's basically some of the big things that I look at is just how efficient are they? Do they have good uptime? And then do they have a pretty good balance sheet? Some of them obviously lack the operating expenses. I'd like to see those be lower, general administrative be lower compared to revenues and things like that. But those are things that they can work on over time on that one. Let's see your question. How concerned are you with Cleanspark will not be able to deploy their miners once delivered? Seen FUD that the infrastructure is not in place and won't be for some time. So they do have infrastructure in place to get to 16 exahash. Beyond that, to get to 20 exahash, they're going to have to either build out the facilities that they do have to get the additional 4 exahash online, and then beyond that, to get to 32 exahash, they're going to have to do the same thing, either build out or buy other facilities. One of my hypotheses is that they might, and this is just my own thinking here, that they might buy out Mawson. Mawson would be a good possible candidate to buy out. They're pretty low right now as it is with their stock and everything else. So that might be a good one to buy out. They do have some infrastructure out there already, and they do have plans to grow beyond that. But how quickly they can do that, I'm guessing to get to 32 exahash, maybe half of it they could get to by the end of this year, maybe by the end of the year. I don't know. It just depends what they buy, right? One of the questions that I posted to, this was Matt from Cleanspark, was congratulations on getting to 32 exahash, securing the miners to get that, or buying the miners to get to that. But where are you going to place those, right? So that was a big question for that. I think everybody had on their mind. And he said that they're going to be looking at opportunistically to either build out their current infrastructure that they do have or buy other facilities. So we're still early in the year. Anything is possible, but so far, except for like this year, they've gone to every single goal that they've stated and beyond. The only goal that they really missed right now was getting to 16 exahash by the end of the year. But they did communicate with everybody here that at least a couple months prior, like even a half a year prior, stating that they might not get to the 16 exahash because of the electrical company having to connect their facilities, and that might take them into Q1, which is what we're kind of hearing right now. And then from the recent press release that Matt Schultz, he stated that it looks like they might be getting the power connected sometime the first week of February. So if that happens, I think we'll be maybe at 16 exahash by the end of February. But that's a lot of miners too. I think they have those already on site. Maybe they just need to get the power energized and then set up. And so maybe by the end of February, we'll get there. Let's see, what else do I have here? Have you ever tried to correlate how much on average miners go up based on how far we are into the bull run historically? We've looked at the historical bull runs from 2021 and prior to that. So at least what I saw before the halving event in 2020, the miners were actually going down a year in price prior to that. After that, we had like a month or 2 or 3 where they were kind of flat, and then Bitcoin obviously took off and the miners took off with them. We saw Marathon reach as high as 7,000% increase, Riot like 4,000, 3,000, something like that. Some of the other ones like 2,000, 1,000% increases from basically their bottom at the halving event up to that point after the halving in 2020. So that's kind of the only thing I've really done on that one. Let's see here. Wondering about their quantity of liquid immersion miner stacks up against other miners like Riot and Marathon. Let's see. Was that regarding to... let's see here. I'm guessing that's a question to Cleanspark, maybe? Not sure on that one. Cleanspark only has one facility that I'm aware of. I think it's only one facility. Correct me if I'm wrong there. But I think they only have one facility that has the immersion cooling. Right? That's the only one that I know of. So I don't know how it stacks up against what Riot has. Riot has a much larger facility for that. And they're also going to be building that out into their new facility in Corsicana, I think it is. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but I think it's Corsicana that they're working on. That's supposed to have a large immersion data centers in there, so that should be pretty good. Let's see, what else do we have here? Which miner has the best management? Thiel, Bradford, other? Good question. That's tough to say. I would say probably like the top 5 miners are probably some of the best management that we've seen so far as looking towards the future and things like that. If you look at like compensation and bonuses, you could maybe argue that maybe not the best as far as that's concerned, but they're obviously getting paid for it to do the things that they're getting done, and they're getting rewarded for it by the board members on that part. So it's kind of an incentive to do the things. Is it a lot? We could argue about that on that part. I think it might be a little high on the one side, but it's all comparative to each other, I guess, on that one. Let's see, what else do I have here? Let me take a look here. February sounds like a buying season. Might be. Let's see. If Cleanspark stock were to spike, would you rebalance your portfolio into Bitfarms and IRES, or do you plan to hold everything until you sell at the top? The plan is just to dollar cost average in continuing. So I bought Bitfarms last week, bought a little bit of IRES Energy as well. I didn't buy anything from Cleanspark because my Cleanspark average prices is around like $3 something, and they were still up at $9, $8, whatever it was. So I started buying Cleanspark when it was like $9. So I'm looking to maybe nibble a little bit more into Cleanspark as well, but I still want to get more into IRES Energy as well because I have a pretty sizable stack already with Cleanspark as it is. Let's see here. Jason Less is a professional poker player. Yeah, I've heard that before. He doesn't have weak hands. Yep, I've heard that. Let's see what else do I have here. In your opinion, when CORZ is relisted on the NASDAQ and IFGBTC stops dumping before the halving, doesn't a $4 price target seem technically reasonable if stock dilution doesn't come into play? Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of have it right now at that point. If you look at core, and this is with the number of shares that they have currently, if we look at that, I have it between $5.06 to $7.59. If we look forward to the next 12 months, I have it at $4.86 to $7.30. So I think it's possible. The bankruptcy has definitely weighed them down tremendously. And if they can get out of it and get in a better position, I think that's going to be good for the stock potentially. But it may take a little while, right? People are a little hesitant with bankruptcy stocks. So we'll see on that one. Okay, guys, any other questions here, or should we call it a day? Let me see if I missed anything. If I missed anything, shout out right now, and we'll see if we can get it covered up. Let's see here. I think that might be it. So I think we'll leave it at that. If you guys have any other questions, leave them in the comments down below. I usually spend an hour or two answering those each day. So I thought doing this kind of stuff would also help out in less questions in the comments, that we get the things answered a little bit faster. Yeah, I don't see anything else from you guys. So thank you so much for coming in to watch this. I do greatly appreciate it. And I hope you guys learned something from this. It doesn't look too good right now, but we'll see where Bitcoin goes, where the miners go with their hash rate increases, and we'll get some better maybe data from all the miners when they report their Q4 results as well. And we'll go over all the stuff again, just to keep everybody apprised of what's going on. Okay, let me see. Last question. Oh, Chris Fuller has a question here, looks like. Mark Yusko said this morning, GBTC is about 15 to 20% retirement accounts, which is likely most of the sell pressure on the BTC price. Do you think that seems reasonable? Yeah, I would think so. I haven't looked into the data on that, but Mark's a pretty smart guy. I would think that would make sense a little bit, right? Most of them also. So that brings me up to another point. The sell pressure that we've seen from GBTC recently is mostly from people getting out of that one into the other ETFs. I don't think the sell pressure has been so much that the people investing in the miners so much are getting into it. I think the miners are getting shellacked right now because of Bitcoin coming down, and then we were, way high anyways. I mean, we were up a lot here in the last year on the miners. We needed a little bit of a healthy pullback. We needed that, and also in Bitcoin. We kind of got it. We got the sell the news event, and then we'll see how things rebalance with everything. And at that point, we might start going back up. We might have to wait until maybe the halving event. I don't know. We'll see. But that's just kind of my thoughts on it. Let's see here. Ryan, thanks. Smooth video. Perfect. Thank you. What happens with Hut 8 in the future? Greetings from Germany. Hut 8. Boy. So they have... Let's take a look at Hut 8. So we'll put that up here for you guys really quick here. Okay. So Hut 8 has some of these older miners here. They need to replace those as soon as possible. That's going to be a big detriment to them coming to the halving event. They are also getting the power plants that are gas powered in Canada. There's 4 of them. They need to build those out as fast as they can, which is going to take time. Obviously, that might take maybe till the end of the year to do all that they want to do there. But they do have the energy to grow there. But the main thing is they need to get rid of some of these older miners here, which are bringing them down on the joules per terahash efficiency side of things, which is going to hurt them coming to halving event. So my recommendation to Hut 8 is get rid of these as fast as you can. Buy new miners, buy better miners that are more efficient, because you're basically, 93 terahash, it's half of what the newer miners are, at 200 terahash. You're at a huge disadvantage there right now as it is. Plus, they're very, very inefficient right now compared to where everybody else is. So that should be their priority number 1. If they can do that, they should be okay. But if they don't do that, the best thing would be probably to turn off all the inefficient miners at that point. And because we can see here on the sheet here that we had, right, let's see here, Hut 8, at a price of 41,000 at that point, they are not profitable. So they need Bitcoin basically be at least at 55,000 come halving event if they don't change out their miners right now to be profitable on the mining side of things. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, you're asking about the share price. Well, share price I think will rebound, and that's based on them upgrading their fleet, because I think part of that is people are looking at their fleet right now and it's like, wow. So I think that would help, right? We're seeing a lot of the miners that have done really good last year are growing tremendously into the halving event. HUT 8 was stagnant in 2023 as far as growth was. They were even underperforming. They had miners down and everything else. They had a bunch of trouble there. So I think if they start replacing the miners, improving their efficiencies and things like that, I think the stock will kind of rebound a little bit from there. But Bitcoin goes up in price, they should rebound as well. Let me see here. Any news on Luxxfolio or are they dead? Luxxfolio. Well, that's one that I covered there in 2022, right? Right after the halving event, or not halving event, right after the bull run of 2021. They were going, it seemed like they were maybe a promising company at that point. But after the bear market started, they just started slowly not providing any production updates or anything like that. And they're probably, what, a penny stock right now, I think, last time I checked, which was a couple months ago. They were like a couple pennies. So I don't know. They're probably not going to survive. That's the only thing I can come up with, right? And whenever a company stops providing production updates on a monthly basis, that usually is a pretty good signal of trouble, right? We saw that with Stronghold. We saw that with some other ones. Soluna also did the same thing, or Solana, whatever it's called. I can't remember now. But they also stopped providing production updates, and we obviously saw trouble from them as well, along with Stronghold. Stronghold now started providing updates here just recently within the last 6-7 months or something like that. So we put them back in. But if they stop providing those again, they are completely out. I'm not going to cover them because it's just too hard to do that. Let's see here. What else do we have here? I wouldn't mind a guest analyst to come to do Elliott waves. I don't do guests for the most part. I partake in like Twitter Spaces, but there's plenty of YouTube guys that do the Elliott waves and things like that. You're probably better off going there because this kind of where I'm at right now. Let's see. There's an analyst on YouTube for Cleanspark Elliott wave pattern right now. There you go. Thanks, Eric. If you can put in their YouTube handle, whatever it is, that would be great. This guy is great for analysts for Elliott. Okay. Yep. So that's it. I think we'll leave it at that for you guys. Thank you again for coming in to watch this. I hope you guys, like I said, learned something. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. And we'll see you guys probably tomorrow. We'll take a look at how miners did against Bitcoin. It wasn't a good week. I'll tell you that right now. But we'll take a look at that, see if anything else pops up on tomorrow's radar. And then we'll get into, obviously, the next week where hopefully we get some good news from Bitcoin and Bitcoin miners. Okay? So that is it. Thank you so much. Hope you guys have a good one. Until next one.